Okay, so hi, my name is Beer, and I'm a student from Nivan International School. And today I'm going to be talking about my big project, which there are two tasks. The first one is finding the distance between my house to the front of my village, and the second task is measuring and graphing a periodic graph of the amount of rainfall in Beijing. So, and the first task is I have used a standard of GSRT to complete the task of finding the distance between my home to my front to the front of the village, which in here I use law of cosine or a law of cosine and a law of sine to find the distance. I have the distance as you can see in the big project. There are two triangles. The first triangles I can use law of sine, which is c equals to square root of a square plus b square minus 2ab cosine of c, which I have the length of of the triangle, two sides of the triangle and an angle of one side. So I'm going to find the length of an opposite of that angle, which is 2.05. And in another triangle I do use the same formation or formula to find the distance, which is also a law of cosine. And in here my distance in the second triangle is 3.65, which both of these distance is the distance between my home to the front of my village. And so I add both distance together, and the distance of e to d, which is a distance between let's say distance of 2.05 and a distance of 3.65. So in all together it is 6.03 in all together in the distance together. And next I use the law of sine to find the missing angle, which a law of sine is it's sine A over A equals sine B over B equals sine C over C, or A over sine A equal B over sine B equals C over sine C. Sorry. Yes, so that's the law of sine to find the missing angle, or you can use the law of sine also to find the length of a side of a triangle. So in here I'm going to find the second triangle, which is the longest triangle. Yes. I'm going to use the law of sine to find. So my equation is A over sine A equals to B over sine B. And my A is 3.65 as given above too, and my B is sine A is 85.86 equals to equals to B, which is 3.66 over sine B. So sine B is equal to 3.66 times sine of 85.86 over 3.65. So my sine B is equal to 1. Then to find the angle, we need to put sine B into an inverse function. So by using a calculator, I can find this angle by using sine of inverse 1, which is equal to 90 degrees. So the missing angle in my second triangle is 90 degree. Yes, that is the first task of finding the distance between my home to the front of the village. Yes, and the second task is using trigonometric function, or f of x equal to a sine bx minus c plus b, or f of x equals to a cosine b of x minus c plus d. Yes, and using this equation to create a periodic graph, which is a graph of going up and down like a wave. Yes. And at this time I'm going to find about an average rainfall in Beijing. So yes, I have the data, as you can see in the graph. I mean not the graph, I mean the data in the project. Sorry. And so the first thing I have to find is an amplitude. I find the amplitude using the amount of rain in first month plus the amount of rain in 8th month. Then I divide those by 2 to find the midpoint. Then I subtract the midpoint and the amount of rain in the first month to find the amplitude. So my amplitude is equals to 3, which is amount of rain in first month, and 182, which is the highest amount of rain, and it is in 8th month. Yes, equals to 185, then divided by 2, which is 92.5. So my 92.5 is a midpoint, and I then minus 92.5 with amount of the rain in first month, which is 3, so equals to 89.5, which 89.5 is my amplitude. So my amplitude here is 89.5, and my midpoint or a vertical shift is 92.5. Yes. So then I have to find the period next. A period is a distance between here. A period is a distance between the first month and the 8th month, and then I multiply by 2. So my distance between the first month and the 8th month is 7. That is the half of the period. Yes, that's the half of the period of the total length, or what you call, yeah, that's the length. So my period is 7 times 2, which is 14. Then I already have my period, but in the function it is a b. So I have to find b, which is period equal to 2 pi over b. So 14 equals 2 pi over b. So b is 2 pi over 14, or pi over 7. So my b is pi over 7. Yes, and my c, or a phase shift, is a 1, because it started from 1, not 0. And so here my graph, not a graph, my equation here is f of x equals to negative 89.5 cosine of pi over 7 x minus 1 plus 92.5. So here I'm going to explain about the sine and cosine function. So a sine function, we use sine function when a graph or starting point of a graph does start from 0. But in this case, my starting point is started from 1, so it is cosine function. Yes, and here it is a negative amplitude because the starting point does come up. I mean, it's come up to the peak, so the starting point is below the midpoint. Going up, it is it isn't going down, so it is going up and it starts below the midpoint. Therefore my graph, my amplitude is negative. Yes. So here, as I said before, that in task 1 I have used a standard of GSRT, which is applying trigonometry again, or a sine, cos, tan, those three into creating a function and finding a distance, and finding the formula of area, which is 1/2 AB sine C. And yeah, using the law of sine and the law of cosine to find the distance. And it can be used in real life to find like an example of a height from a tower. From the ground to the peak of the tower with an angle of elevation. You're going to find a height. Yes. And in task 2, I use FTF, which is trigonometric functions, and using trigonometric function to find periodic graph. Create a periodic graph. Yes, and yeah, I learned about equation of a trigonometric function, which is f of x equals to a sine b of x minus c plus b, or f of x equals to a cosine of b of bx minus c plus b. And a is amplitude, b is a b or a period. B is a b and bx is a period, and a c is a phase shift, and lastly d is a vertical shift or a midpoint. You can say it is that. And I can be using the standard in finding a correlation of an object that moves up and down continuously, or moving continuously, yes, such as a wave, as you can see, and a bouncing ball, it go up and go down and go up and go down, or even a weather. Yes, that's the temperature or the weather. That's how hot, how cold it is. And here I use Desmos, Google Map, and a website to find data of an average rainfall. So this is all about my big project in quarter 4. I'm sorry. In quarter 4, my second big project. Yes, the first one is about the wetland itself, and this one is finding the distance and an average rainfall in here. So yes, that's all, and thank you for watching or listening, or yes, thank you.